Ever wondered if the story of Jesus Christ as presented in the film Zeitgeist holds any water? Now, this film suggests an intriguing idea that the tale of Jesus Christ is not an original one, but rather a mishmash of sun-god trinity myths from various cultures of yore. Imagine that. It boldly claims that details of Jesus' life, such as being born of a virgin, having 12 disciples, and being resurrected, are simply borrowed from these myths. A tantalizing concept indeed, but one must ask, how much truth lies in these claims? How much is historical fact and how much is cinematic fiction? Can we find parallels in these ancient myths, or are we merely witnessing an imaginative reinterpretation of history? A wise man once said, "Prove all things, hold fast that which is good." So let's do exactly that. Let's dive deep and debunk each claim made in the film. First up, Mithras, the rock baby. Now there's a sentence you don't get to say every day. So our main man, Mithras, he's been thrown into the ring as a contender against Jesus, with the claim that their birth stories are strikingly similar. Well, we're here to set the record straight. Let's start with the basics. Jesus, as you probably know, was born of a virgin, in a humble stable, under a star of great significance. A poignant tale of divine intervention and humble beginnings indeed. Now Mithras, on the other hand, well, he had a slightly less conventional entrance into the world. He was born from a rock. Yes, you heard that right, a rock. Not exactly your typical nativity scene, is it? So right off the bat, we've got a major discrepancy. One was born of a virgin, the other from a rock. I mean, unless we're suggesting that the rock was a virgin, which is a whole other conversation that I'm pretty sure we're not ready to have. The film Zeitgeist would have you believe that these are one and the same story, but it's clear that's just not the case. This isn't a simple case of lost in translation. It's more like made up in translation. The suggestion that Mithras and Jesus share the same birth story is a bit like saying that a cheeseburger and a salad are the same because they both involve lettuce. It's a stretch, to say the least. And let's not forget the other glaring inaccuracies in the film, like the claim that Mithras had 12 disciples. Spoiler alert, he didn't, or that he was resurrected. Again, not so much. It seems that the makers of Zeitgeist were playing a game of mythical bingo, trying to match Jesus with any and every deity they could find. But unfortunately for them, the facts just don't line up. So, no parallels here. Next. Now let's talk about the man, the myth, the legend, Jesus Christ. Or should we say, the man, the truth, the life. You see, unlike the sun gods of yore, Jesus, or as he was known in his native tongue, Yeshua, was a flesh and blood human being. This isn't some made-up fable spun from the imaginations of bored shepherds. We're talking about a man who walked, talked, and lived among us. We know his mother Mary, a woman of humility and grace. We know his father Joseph, a carpenter by trade. We know he hailed from the town of Nazareth and that his life was anything but ordinary. But don't just take my word for it. This isn't a game of he said, she said. This is history, my friends. We have accounts from non-Christian authors like Tacitus, Pliny, Suetonius, and Josephus, who meticulously recorded his life, death, and ministry. They wrote about a man who stirred the establishment, who spoke of love and forgiveness, and who ultimately met a tragic end. But the story doesn't stop there. It's not just about a man who lived and died. It's about a man who conquered death itself, a man who was resurrected and seen by hundreds after his crucifixion. It's about a man whose teachings continue to influence billions of people worldwide. Now I know what you're thinking. You're sitting there, questioning everything I've said. You're wondering if all of this could be some elaborate ruse, a well-crafted myth designed to control the masses. And to that I say, question away. Be like Thomas, the doubting apostle. Demand evidence, scrutinize the sources. But remember, unlike the mythical gods of old, we have a historical account for Jesus. We have dates, places, names. We can trace his lineage. We know the politics of the time, the language they spoke, the clothes they wore. Still think he's a myth? Let's continue. Let's go back in time to the 19th century, shall we? Picture a world where autodidacticism was the order of the day, where the thirst for knowledge led to the formation of theories as wild as the West itself. Enter the myth-mix theory. This was a time when individuals, far removed from the academic rigor of today, were stitching together theories about Jesus Christ being a patchwork of various sun-god trinity myths. Now don't get me wrong, Autodidactism can be a powerful tool, but when it comes to historicity, it's a bit like trying to perform surgery with a butter knife. These writers, with their unchecked claims, created a colourful tapestry of misinformation that persists even today. They presented a version of Jesus Christ that was as mythical as the gods they claimed he was derived from. But let's pull the brakes for a moment. This myth mix theory, no matter how fascinating, has as much credibility as a $3 bill. Why? Well, for starters, the lack of historical references and verifiable facts. Mithras, the supposed sun god, was not born of a virgin as they claimed. The chap was born out of a rock. That's as far from a virgin birth as you can get. Moreover, these writers didn't just overlook facts, they twisted them into pretzels. Their interpretation was so skewed it would make Picasso's abstract art look like child's play. They took the life of a real person, Jesus Christ, with verifiable historical evidence and turned it into a myth. And that, my friends, is the danger of unchecked autodidactism. It's like a wild horse, galloping with abandon, trampling over the facts and leaving a trail of confusion in its wake. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of a new theory, especially one that challenges established beliefs. But remember, a theory without a solid foundation of facts is as sturdy as a house of cards in a windstorm. History, like a good detective novel, always reveals the truth. So let's continue to dig deeper, shall we? After all, the truth is often stranger than fiction. The Apostle Paul had something to say about all this. Now, if you've ever read a Pauline letter, you'll know that our man Paul wasn't one to mince words. He was always ready with a quill and a parchment, ready to drop some wisdom on the early Christian churches. And boy, did he have a knack for nailing down the truth. Let's take a look at one of his letters, 1 Thessalonians 5:21. Paul's dropping truth bombs here like a seasoned rapper at a freestyle battle. He says, "Prove all things, hold fast that which is good." That's right. Paul was all about that fact-checking life. He wasn't about to let his homies in Thessalonica start believing every Tom, Dick and Harry that came along with a new doctrine. He knew the importance of testing information, of not just swallowing everything hook, line and sinker. And not just testing, but once you find what's good, you hold on to it. You grip it tight, like it's the last slice of pizza at a party. But wait, there's more. Paul also had a warning about deceiving spirits and doctrines of demons. In 1 Timothy 4:1, he says, "Now the Spirit expressly says that in latter times some will depart from the faith, giving heed to deceiving spirits and doctrines of demons." Paul's basically saying, guys, watch out, there's some sneaky stuff going on here. Some people are going to start listening to these deceiving spirits and start believing some pretty off-the-wall stuff. He's warning us to keep our eyes open, to stay alert. He knew that there would be those who would try to twist the truth, to create confusion, to lead people astray. And his advice, don't buy into it. Check the facts, hold on to what's good, and don't get fooled by the doctrines of demons. Sounds like Paul knew what he was talking about. So what's the final verdict on the film Zeitgeist? I hear you ponder. Well, let's see if we can unravel this tangled tapestry of tales, shall we? The film certainly serves up a smorgasbord of sun-god-trinity myths, suggesting they've been thrown into a celestial blender to concoct the story of Jesus Christ. But upon closer inspection, the recipe seems to have a few ingredients missing, and some that don't belong at all. For instance, Mithras, the supposed virgin-born deity, was actually birthed from a rock. I mean, talk about a hard labor. This glaring inaccuracy is just one of many that pepper the film's narrative. And then there's the claim that Jesus is a mere patchwork of myths from past cultures. But the reality is, Jesus, or Yeshua, was a living, breathing person. We know his mother, father, where he lived when he passed away, and the circumstances surrounding his death. His life, death, and ministry are documented by non-Christian authors such as Tacitus, Pliny, Suetonius, Josephus, and others. Then there's the 19th century myth mix, a cocktail of claims stirred up by self-taught scholars and demonist mediums. But to quote the Apostle Paul, we must prove all things, hold fast that which is good. And in this case, the proof is in the pudding, and the pudding is a little sour. You see, the film Zeitgeist is like a magician's trick. It's flashy, it's entertaining, and it seems to make the impossible possible. But when you peek behind the curtain, you'll find that it's all smoke and mirrors, misdirection and sleight of hand. So remember to always question what you see, what you hear, and what you read. Because even though we all love a good story, it's important to separate fact from fiction. And in the case of Zeitgeist, it seems the film has been a little too liberal with the latter. Remember, a good detective always questions everything. And on that note, I'll leave you to ponder, to question, and to discover the truth for yourselves. Now that we've debunked the claims made in Zeitgeist, what's next, you might ask? Well, my dear friends, the journey to truth is a never-ending road. As we've seen, even the most widely accepted narratives can be marred by inaccuracies, and it's up to us to separate fact from fiction. Remember, knowledge is power, but knowledge without verification is like a ship without a compass. It's bound to get lost in the vast ocean of misinformation. Whether it's a religious claim, a historical assertion, or even a simple piece of trivia, always dig deeper. Challenge, question, and verify everything. As we unravel the shroud of myths and misconceptions, we become not just consumers of information, but its gatekeepers. We become the torchbearers of truth, the debunkers of deception. And together we can create a world that thrives on facts, not fiction. Stay curious, question everything, and always seek the truth. Until next time, keep debunking.